I want to talk about a little bit the end of California, the fall of California. And it's an ominous topic because the fall of California could be a precursor to the fall of America. California is America's most beautiful state. It has been for quite a long time America's richest state. Of course, there are other wealthy states, New York, Texas, but California has been number one. It has huge and important industries that are distinctive of California. We think most obviously of Hollywood, but California now has also been the center, really since the Silicon Revolution, of high tech. If you go down to Southern California, the San Diego area, biotech. Let's not forget agriculture, all the oranges and avocados that are grown in California. So this is a rich, beautiful state, and it's being ruined. And it's being ruined by a man who actually wants to be president. So if you want to know how can the California model, or as Debbie calls it, the Calizuela model, California going the way of Venezuela, how can that model be exported to the whole country? Well, it would be exported if Gavin Newsom becomes president, which he very much wants to be. And the Democrats are pinning a lot of hope in this guy. In fact, I call him the White Obama. I told Debbie, we should call this podcast the White Obama. She's like, no, that's a little bit risky. You can say that, Dinesh, but don't call it that. So we're not calling it that in the thumbnail. But Newsom is kind of a dashing guy, and he's trying to be the progressive white knight. And the latest scheme, which really epitomizes or encapsulates the craziness of California, is reparations for slavery. Reparations for slavery. Now you may say, wait a minute, I didn't really know that California had slavery. It didn't. California was not a Confederate state. It didn't have slavery. But nevertheless, there are blacks in California. And so the idea is we got to give these descendants of slavery reparations. So California set up something called the Reparations Task Force. This was created by a law in 2020. And here's the point. In California now is one party state. So they pass whatever law the progressives come up with. It goes through, and bills kind of have a natural way of passage. They get through both houses of the legislature, and then the governor signs them. So here you've got this task force, and it started out with the idea, well, let's give every black who's descended from slavery, and by the way, they're very clear. This will apply to most blacks living in California. They say that there are 1.8 million black Californians who had an ancestor enslaved in the U.S., and they want to give them each over $300,000. Think about this. Think about the effect of this on white Californians struggling to make a living. You take $300,000 per person. And now, this is a crazy scheme, and we don't at this stage have to get into the merits of it. Reparations doesn't work on so many levels intellectually, but see, Newsom doesn't care, and the task force doesn't care, because this is a matter of trying to implement racial politics. The idea is, let's try to buy off the black vote, and then we'll turn to the Latino vote. And this is how Democrats operate. It's not based upon, is this something that's meritorious? Is it deserved? Can you really show that these descendants of slavery would be? I mean, if, when you normally make a case for reparations, you have to show that but for the offense, these people would all be worse off. But think about it. If slavery had never existed in the United States, none of these people would be in America. I mean, unless they came later as a tourist or came later as an immigrant, they wouldn't be here at all. So they would be living now in Africa. And how could you make the case that they would somehow be better off over there? I mean, no one even dreams or even attempts to make this kind of case. Now, California is currently running a massive budget deficit, projected at $22.5 billion. This program would cost another $640 billion. So there's really no money for it. And California is kind of going down the tubes. Now you can say, well, and this is California's normal answer, well, let's tax the rich. Well, the very rich in California already pay the overwhelming chunk of taxes. In fact, the top 1% pays over 40% of all the They're already milking, they're already extracting what they can from the very rich. And you may say, well, okay, well, let's raise the state income tax. Well, California has the highest state income tax in the country. I think it's now 13 or so percent. Contrast that, for example, with Texas, 0%. So you might wonder, why did Dinesh move to Texas? Well, Debbie's the main reason, but this is the second reason. It's kind of nice not to pay state taxes, to have a state that has no local taxes. The federal taxes are high enough. Now, this committee that got together to propose reparations, they don't even care about the cost. In fact, they weren't even asked to provide a plan for how you can pay for this. And of course, the program has not yet become law. But programs move very quickly from idea to law in a one-party state like California. So look, they're pulling the state into the ocean. They're creating, if you will, they haven't had the big one, the earthquake that's going to destroy the state, but there are other ways to destroy California other than an earthquake. And my point is that, all right, if you want to go ahead, do it, but don't destroy the rest of the country.